hover over her photo and click on the 3 dots and you can click chat. Or if you open the chat box at the bottom, it'll show up somewhere on your screen and you can find her name. What we typically like to do is called the sandwich method. Give her something she did well with her speech, something she could improve upon, and or challenge her. I like to challenge people. And then conclude it with something else that she did great with her speech. While you're doing that, and then if Nina, if you can just like chime in when that minute is up, I need to ask a member a question. All right, so now that I've asked that question and I'm still waiting on both response and a heads up of that minute, out of the entire district, that's 134 clubs, as mentioned, we are tied with 2 other clubs for 2nd place. That means that if you want to do numbers, the first club would be obviously 1 club, and then 2nd place is 3, so that's 4 clubs. Following that, we have about 10 other clubs in the district that have either completed 1 or 2 of their DCP goals, which leaves the remaining district currently at 0. And I want to give really a lot of importance to that because we are about halfway into the month of August, which is not even barely beginning the term. All right, Nina has given me the time's up and I have gotten a response. So now I would like to introduce our 2nd speaker of the evening to the virtual platform. I am most confident that this is what we call a free speech at the moment, in which it's not actual a project, but just preparation to better work on their speaking skills. So please help me welcome Wayne Miller with Sometimes Boring is Not So Bad. Sometimes Boring is Not So Bad, Wayne Miller.
All right. Fellow Toastmasters and honored guests, sometimes boring is not so bad. As many of you know, I'm a real estate agent. I'm also known as the real estate tailor. And in my view, there are 3 different types of real estate agents. The first is the really tall, good-looking guy who looks nice in a suit and he drives an expensive BMW. The second is a beautiful woman. She has beautiful hair. Her makeup is flawless and her dress is perfect. And she walks around like this with her elbow bent, and hanging from her arm is a very expensive handbag. And sometimes she has a scarf coming out of the handbag. And she talks like this, and she walks like this, and she looks at you like this, and she looks at you like that. And then she goes to the bank and she cashes her check. The third is me. I am what they call a workhorse real estate agent. I'm not pretty, and I don't drive an expensive car. But you see, that's okay, because my car, unlike theirs, is paid for. When I think about all the things that I have done and experienced, my job just isn't boring. For example, teenagers. How many of you know about those little creatures? They're between the ages of, let's say, being a child to entering adulthood. One day I was showing a property to my clients, and I was walking through the property and I was doing that whole HGTV thing that a lot of you guys think that we do, you know, and we mentioned the obvious. This is the kitchen. This is the bathroom. This is the bedroom. As I'm doing that whole HGTV thing that many of you have seen, I go to the bedroom and I open the door. And to our horror and surprise, The two teenagers are going at it like bunny rabbits, so much that they didn't even know we were there. I look at my clients, they look at me, then I start doing that thing that a lot of us do when we are in an awkward situation. We apologize. I started backing up and I started to say, oh, I am so sorry. I should have not. I'm sorry, your parents didn't tell you that we were going to be there at 10 o'clock. I am so sorry. So I started backing up, and the teenagers, without flinching, they just said, dude, just close the door. So I closed the door. I go out, and me and my clients, we are just laughing. The point is, sometimes boring is not so bad. Haunted house. How many of you have ever been into a haunted house? I have. We drove up to this house and it looks like something out of the Addams Family. Very scary. And I'm very in tune with different things. So I had a bad feeling about this house. So I walk into this home and all of a sudden I started feeling sadness and despair. The hairs on my arms were standing up. But to top it all, it smelled like cat pee. Oh my goodness. If you ever smelled cat pee, it is the nastiest and vicious smell that anyone can experience. All of a sudden, I couldn't breathe again. And then I said, where's the cat? And the agent who was showing it said, they don't have a cat. Then I started getting visibly sick and my clients looked at me and they go, are you okay? And I'm like, I'm gonna step outside. I step outside, all of a sudden, miraculously, I wasn't ill anymore. And then I looked at this house and I looked up and I'm like, ha, ha, ha. Very, very funny, spirits. You attack me with despair and sadness. But now I'm moving forward. And I said, deuces, we're out of here. What am I saying? I'm saying is this. When next time you're watching HGTV, when you see that tall, beautiful man with the good suit, think about how he would handle that situation with the teenagers. When you see that woman with the beautiful hair, ask the question, how would she handle a situation like a haunted house? Ladies and gentlemen, sometimes boring is not that bad. Thank you very much.
Nicely done, sir. All right, just as we did before with Twee, we're gonna have another minute of silence so everyone can provide Wing with some feedback. Again, just as a reminder, we like to do the Oreo method, something he did well with, something he could improve upon or challenge him, and then conclude it with another thing that he did well with. And as we do that, if I may please call for a timer's report on our speakers for this evening. Nina.
Twee came in at 5 minutes and 33 seconds, and Wayne came in at 5 minutes and 45 seconds. They both qualified.
Superb. So with both speakers qualifying, if we may please get the vote counter to cast the poll so that we may vote. Sweet. And by the time you guys are finished with the poll, should also somewhat be finished with the comments, we will move into the next little section, which is actually a educational block from our Vice President Education. I will surrender the virtual podium to our VPE, Eric Ackney.
Thank you, Landon. And if I did this right, you guys should be able to see a slide deck up here on the screen. Is that right? Yep, I'm getting some nods. Okay. Also, actually, Nina, I will not be able to see you. So if you can just tell me when I have reached 10 minutes, that would be awesome. because this is not timed, but I don't want to suck up a whole meeting either. And let's see if I can reverse those two screens, because that just got awkward.
1 minute. Do you want a 1 or 2 minute warning, or just at 10?
Just at 10 is fine. I do, however, need to reverse these two screens because that just got awkward on me. And I cannot stop my sharing. 1 second. This is not awkward at all, sorry.
No worries. Sometimes this happens, and so while you figure that out, I will fill the gap with my nonsense blabbering. As you can see, with Toastmasters, not only in physical circumstances, but virtually, you will encounter some challenges that you have to very quickly figure out and adapt. A perfect example of this, actually, personally, was last night. I gave a Pathways presentation at Bilingue at one of Twee's clubs, and I like to give Pathways by live demonstration, which means I log into Toastmasters International and I show you in a live demo from sharing my screen. TI was down. It wouldn't let me log in. My slides were not up to date, and I'm low-key freaking out. And last minute, TI was able to come up, but I was ready to do like a Q&A session for the entire 15 minutes if I had to. And that's part of being a leader, is being able to quickly adapt to any problem that may arise. And it looks like Eric is ready to go. So please help me welcome Eric Acme.
Thank you. And to confirm, are you seeing a single slide on this one and not my slide sorter view?
Yes.
Okay, awesome, perfect. So tonight, you may know that we are in the middle of a membership drive as well. And not to make this awkward for the guests, but we are totally going to be talking about, from the Successful Club series, closing the sale. And this is how you would go about helping welcome new members into the club and to help them join and become members. So with that, we are working towards a few things. So as we have a guest that comes in, you want to have your meeting standards. You want to start and begin begin and end your meeting on time, because of course you're trying to show that this is the kind of club that does well with things like that. You also want your participants to arrive early and prepared. And tonight is probably not the best example of that we've ever done, because we moved a speech contest and pulled a meeting out of our hat like a rabbit. But that actually went well. So if they are aware that this meeting was put together within the hour before it started, that's something that we could share with them to show them how well it actually went. And then for the club officers to fulfill their responsibilities, which again, I think we nailed. You know, we have the public relations, membership, education, sergeant arms, all of the people that have to do things behind the scenes for these things to happen correctly for a meeting. And then for the meeting to proceed at a good pace. We don't want it to be so fast they don't know what's going on. We don't want it to be so slow that they get so bored. So we hope that that is a good thing for them and members to be enthusiastic. And I think this is one of the things that this particular club knocks out of the park every time. You know, we bring the enthusiasm, we bring the energy without trying to look crazy and without boring them out of their pants. And then that every project is a manual project. And the idea behind Toastmasters is, of course, that everybody is working towards their educational goals and improving themselves on their educational path and things like that. So even when we have something like Wayne's free speech, that still falls within the spirit of this, because it was totally in keeping with the Toastmasters education curriculum, even though it was an impromptu speech on the go. Also, when you're trying to work with a new member, you want to work towards the win-win situation. And that is, you know, of course, it's good for the club to get new members, but is this something that's actually good for them? Would this be good for them as a member? You know, we don't want to recruit people just to recruit people. And if it's no good for them, then what was the point? We're not actually helping. So it's best to help identify, how does this fit with their goals? How can this be something that helps them develop? And that's really what we want to help them find, to find if this is the right thing. And then, of course, the win-lose would be, yes, if we gain a member, but it's not doing them any good, then they're out the membership fee and all the time they sink into it, and it's not helping. So we want to avoid the win-lose. And then, of course, the lose-lose, where it doesn't do any good for anyone because we brought someone who was not aligned with goals that would work well here, and they're not happy, and it makes them miserable, it makes all of us miserable. So as much as we can, we want to work towards the win-win. We want people that are good for the club. We want the club to be good for the people that want to come to us. And that all just works out good for all of us. And then we can help them identify the win-win by discussing the benefits. And of course, everybody always thinks of the improved public speaking abilities because that's what Toastmasters is famous for. It's a public speaking group, right? But as anybody who's been involved for a while can tell you, there's so much more to it than just the speaking. We've got leadership development. You have to learn how to put a meeting together and to run it and to keep things organized. You would talk about the speech contest, the area speech contest, the membership drive. There are a lot of opportunities to learn some leadership development here and to move along that path as well. Also, the better social skills. We come a couple of minutes early. You see how we're just chatting with each other, and I'm pretty sure that no one really knew each other before they came to this club. So all of the friendship and socialization that you see going on before the meeting and after the meeting, we're actually building the social skills with a group of people that we didn't know before we came here. And then, of course, the greater self-esteem. And this is one of them that I think a lot of people get stuck in a do loop, and you say, oh, I've always heard of Toastmasters, and I'd really like to try that. And you're like, yeah, come and try it. And they're like, well, I'm not a very good speaker. And you're like, well, yeah, that's kind of the point. You know, you come and you practice and you get better at it, and we help you become better at that. And it helps build that self-esteem so that when they're asked to speak at work or at a wedding or wherever, that they have the self-esteem that allows them to speak other places as well. And so the greater self-esteem is one of the benefits that we do bring for them. And then it's how do you close that sale? How do you help them decide if they want to become a member? You know, compare how would it be if you were a member compared to if you're not a member, or the benefits of this education system compared to other ones. Find the one that's going to fit their goals better, because the happier we can make members, the better it is for the club. So help them compare options. And then the loss, right? So there is a bit of a sunk time in this. Everybody will tell you there is a time commitment. There's a couple of dollars out the door as well. But what are you going to lose? If you don't do this, there is a lost opportunity for all of those things that would have been benefits now become losses if you don't. And of course, you remind them even that this is all opinion-based, and nobody's ever going to say, oh, you're such terrible, because it's all about one person's opinion. But one of the best things that we offer is when you get your evaluation, as you go through these exercises, we do have the spoken evaluation. You'll hear one person's opinion, but just as you saw, we were going to provide written feedback for the speakers. You are going to get the opinion of so many people that it actually helps you develop faster. Because you'll get one person says, oh, I really liked it when you did that. Another person says, well, I didn't really like it when you do that. And you can kind of weigh the options and see what worked better for your audience. And then, of course, there is the story that you build behind it as well, right? And this is helping them develop their story. I read a great book. It was called The Story of You, that even a person who thinks, well, there's nothing extraordinary about me, I'm just a person. In that book, they helped you see, yes, you have a story to tell. Everyone has a story to tell. And like the old quote says, you know, everyone is a hero in their own story. And I guarantee no matter how boring you might have ever thought your life was, or however much you think that you don't have a unique perspective, you absolutely do, and your story matters. And this might be the kind of a program that can help you find what that story is and develop it in a way that lets you share it with more people. And you can do this with examples. You can show people that I don't want to call out by name, Abby, totally looking at you, where you can say that there were people that have been directly helped by this program and can share examples to say, well, they had these particular goals in mind and they started on these exercises and they started doing these programs and projects, and they see actual real benefit in their life and the way it helps them personally and at work. And of course, if you're going to close the sale with this person, they decide that this is something that they want to do, then this would have a title on it that says Vice President of Membership. They can be a great help and an asset, so you can take them to the Vice President of Membership, and oh, there it is. And then they will help them with filling out an application. And it looks kind of like that when we do it on paper. There's also a system that we do online where a lot of this information goes in as well. Just one piece of paper. It's not terrifying. It's not scary. And there are the different various classes of members that we're trying to get as well, right? So you're going to need a new membership application if this is a new member, a reinstated member, a renewing member, dual members, and transferring from another club. You may have somebody who is in another Toastmasters club, wants an additional one, Maybe somebody moves from another city or state, comes to San Diego, they want to transfer from that to us. There's different ways to do it with transfers as well. There's just an option down there that you actually mark whether they are new or reinstating or transferring. The options are on the form. And then as you're filling out the application for the member, of course, you know, the new members have a section that they pay. We go over that with them. When we get them far enough to be interested in that, we can show them how it works, because the numbers change literally almost every day because of the way it's prorated. And it's different for new members than transferring members and all of the above. It changes for everybody. So the financial numbers need to be discussed on a case by case when we get to that. And then the recruiter information and language selection, we do have members around the world. It is Toastmasters International, and most of the educational material is available in several languages. While the international speech contest has a rule that the international speech at the contest has to be in English, you do find even in San Diego, there are bilingual clubs. There are clubs around the world that practice speeches in various languages. So they do want to know what language the person prefers for their education material, even if they're going to be speaking in English in competition. And then you get the signatures and make the payments. But in conclusion, what we're really looking to drive here, if you're really looking for a way to win over new people and bring in new members, you want the enthusiasm. You bring these certain selling techniques to show them how it is. You show them how the meeting roles go. You turn to mentors for advice and assistance, because we can help you with that, whatever you think your problem is. And then we have all of these materials and information to help them whatever their educational path would be. And we give them an official introduction to the club and to how public speaking would go for them. You add all these things up and you have a win-win sale. Thank you. How was that? Oh, I was 45 seconds off, man.
That was oddly great timing, though, because you were at the end of that slide. Very nice educational moment. I need to not say presentation for that case. I also want to point out that at least once a month, the first week of every month, we officers will be giving an educational moment like this so that we can all improve, not just you guys, guests, but even ourselves. Now that the educational moment is concluded, we are going to officially move into the second portion of the meeting, which is probably everyone's actual favorite, and that's table topics. Taking away the virtual floor, please help me welcome our immediate past president, Madam Teresa Valenzuela.
All right. You guys ready? Here we go. We're going to do table topics. And so who knows tonight's word for the day? Anybody? I'll tell you right now. It's paradox. For example, paradox, impossibility. Wait, is that what? Wrong.
It's catch-22. Yeah, paradox, impossibility is the theme. Yeah.
Right? Yeah, so catch-22. And there's actually a book with that title. That's where it comes from. The idiom was first coined by Joseph Heller, an American writer who used it in his novel Catch-22, published in 1961. So I want to give you an example of what a paradox is. A wise fool. That is the paradox. Anybody want to go first? All right, Michelle, you're up. Go ahead and give me an example, Michelle, would you, of a time when you experienced the paradox to the point where you said, oh, wow, I'm screwed.
Thank you so much, Teresa, for that question. I clearly have not been in Toastmasters for weeks, because this is typically a lot of fun. And right now I'm starting to sweat a little bit, starting to get a little nervous, because while I know what a paradox is, it's very difficult for me to think of an experience that I've had personally. I think I've been doing a lot of studying during my free time, and one of the things that I've been studying, because I like complicated things, are black holes. And I think that a black hole is a bit of a paradox, because at its core, it is completely, it's void of any color. So it's not black, it's void, but it actually releases color, or it releases a it releases a specific type of wave that can be seen in color. So personally, I think that's very paradoxical in that it is void of color, but yet at the same time, it releases a substance that has color. Now, on the point of black holes, I think it's a bit of a catch-22. There's absolutely no win situation with black holes, because once you get near one, you spaghettify, and you begin to turn into this little spaghetti structure. It's very, very neat. So if you were actually falling into a black hole, your feet would begin to spaghettify before the rest of your body. And then you slowly go thinner and thinner and thinner. Not a good way to lose weight, by the way. Don't recommend it. At any rate, although I could not think of a specific paradox for myself, there you go, black holes. Thank you very much, Madam Table Topics Master.
All right, I don't know if I've never heard the word spaghettify. Is that the right? That's nice. I love it. Spaghettify. So I think, real quick, I think that a paradox is I can't feel my feet, but yet they hurt. So that would be an example. Would our guests like to go ahead and share tonight? One of our guests on the phone, Audrey, I believe, or I don't want to mispronounce the name. Yes.
Don't worry about that. It's Sanaz.
Would you like to share?
Well, yeah, when you started explaining that, I told you I came here 2 months ago because I got a job here. So I was like in the process of looking for jobs. And I think like a very important example for this catch-22 is you need experience to get a job, but you will not get experience without having a job. So that's something that I was dealing with during the process that I was applying for different jobs. So that's the first thing that came to my mind. Oh yeah, this is a good example for that.
Excellent, good job. That was excellent. So Audrey, you want to go ahead and give it a shot as far as an experience that you had with paradoxical experience, and maybe use the word of the day, catch-22 within that statement, for example?
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to say no this time because I'm taking notes like I do at times when I try to keep up anyway, but next time perhaps yes. Thank you for asking though.
All right, that means you have to come back.
Exactly, right. And I will.
So we got time for one more. Okay, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Cindy. Go ahead, Cindy.
Hi. So is it the same question? Name a paradoxical event? Okay, cool. First and foremost, before I say anything else, welcome to San Diego, Sanaz. I know you're moving in the middle of a pandemic, which is crazy. My paradox actually that I wanted to share is, I'm sure, something that everybody experiences right now, the paradox of not really knowing, kind of having your feet dangled during a pandemic. We want to go out and we want to create these connections, but yeah, at the same time, there's this like overwhelming fear of what happens if it's the last connection you ever make. So I think ultimately, thankfully, we have all collectively settled down, just hunkering down and knowing that this is how we're dealing. We're all kind of coping in a way. But at the same time, it is definitely a catch-22 and not an easy task for us very social creatures here. So the cool thing is we, at least as a unit, as a group here, we're kind of a social unit of our own, and we're creating opportunities where we get to at least give each other the social support that we need. So thank you all, and happy pandemic lockdown time. Thank you, back to you.
All right. So do we have time for more, or is that it, 2 to 3? Janet.
You have maybe time for one more on the newly adjusted schedule.
Okay. And the clock is going to stop with Nathan. Nathan, please. Excuse me. Hold on just one moment, Nathan. Audrey, could you do us a favor, please? Audrey?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, Nathan, so you're up in regard to, can you think of a catch-22 situation? I'm sure you've been in one by this point in your life. And go ahead and share that with us.
So I think a catch-22 situation would actually have to be giving my first table topic speech ever at Toastmasters when I came first to support Cindy and Twee. It was a catch-22 situation for me because I had never been, I guess, giving a speech in front of that many people, and it was trying to focus on like would I say the right thing, or like would I say anything would that offend another person, how my intonations look, and like kind of focusing on all those different aspects of speech kind of terrified me. And then because of that, I felt like my speech was inadequate because I wasn't displaying the good like vocal variation or facial intonation that you all have shown me how to do when giving a good speech. So I think that was a time when I was faced with a catch-22 situation.
All right, so with that, I'm going to turn it over back to the Toastmaster, who I'm not sure is, which is Bambi.
That's me. All right, all right, all right. In the name of, or the words of Teresa, may I please get a timer's report on our table topic speakers?
Absolutely. Michelle, you came in at 2 minutes and 4 seconds. Sanaz, you were just shy of a minute. Cindy, 1 minute, 15 seconds. And Nathan, also shy of a minute.
All right, so with the grace period, it does sound like all table topic speakers qualify. If we can go ahead and get the poll started for our table topics portion. And while that's being done, if my memory serves me right, I believe Nathan's first table topics was actually the night that I threw a mystery night meeting and had you guys draw out the paper bag with numbers, and I made all the guests participate. And he was like, I don't want to, but I was like, no, but you're going to. It was, yeah, awesome. I'm glad to have been able to impact your life like that. Now we will officially move into the third portion of the meeting, which is the evaluations portion. And taking the virtual platform for that area will be our Madam General Evaluator and VPPR, Cindy Wynn.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. So for the next portion, like Landon said, we are going to go through evaluation. So I wanted to introduce our first evaluator, which is, we're evaluating Twee, and that's Mr. Eric. Please take it away.
Thank you, Cindy. And I apologize to everybody who remembers that I was just speaking and didn't already blank out from that. Also, this is a bit of a catch-22 situation. As much as I always tell my speakers, never worry about your previous speeches. The exact objective she had tonight, if you are not aware, was to incorporate feedback from her previous speech by the same evaluator. So I already knew exactly what I was looking for on this one. And spoiler alert, you did well with incorporating the feedback that you were given before. So I am actually holding notes from your previous speech that includes new notes as well. The opening energy, I would say, is also really good, in the organization of the speech, again, very well. I had suggested maybe you put your notes to the side instead of down, and I did see that they are slightly off to the right because I caught you doing that. And I will challenge you in the future, don't use notes. But it was a reduced use of notes. There would seem to be a whole lot more besides the opening poem that you were mostly working off of bullet points, I could tell. Your pace did slow down a little bit, seemed to be controlling the nerves or the pace, so that was a definite improvement on that as well. I like opening with a riddle as a hook. It doesn't hook it quite as quick as I might like, but it is a good feel, something we don't always see the same all the time. For the hand uses, I liked when you were holding the concept of a thing. That was pretty cool. Also, where did she, there she is. And it looks like there's a thing you have to be aware of, especially when you're speaking to an audience. They experience the world backwards because you're on the stage. And so for all of us, when we talk about the future, we move our hand to the right, which for all of you on the screen right now, I think might actually be moving to your left, which looks like the past. So in your own mind, you always have to remember the future is on the other side now, as well as the future and the past being directional. You got to think of that. So keep that one in mind. George Carlin's 7 words, YouTube that later because that's amazing. And I love the improved pace, and I like where you were going with this entire project. I love the way you did incorporate the feedback and how all of that went. Almost every category that I marked here, you went up in almost all of them. Only stayed the same on the eye contact to engage the audience because we're in a camera. There's no way to improve on that. And physical use of gestures, I think, was the same. Good use of physical gestures. And my timer is given 2 fingers, which is always better than the one I usually get. So thank you for allowing me to evaluate both of your speeches. See, that was right in keeping with the theme of your speech. I like that. Thank you for allowing me to evaluate both of your speeches, and I look forward to your next project. Have a good night.
That was awesome. Thank you, Eric. And I have to mention that every time you give evaluations, we actually all learn. So next up, we have Mr. Ray Padilla evaluating, who's our second speaker? Wayne, there you go. Thank you, and please take it away.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. I was very excited to speak today. Unfortunately, I was not able to. This whole week has been crazy busy for me, which is a good thing. At the same time, I realized that I could not prepare a speech. I found myself in this crazy catch-22 of what am I going to do? So I chose work. But that being said, I was very fortunate that I do get to speak today, and extremely fortunate that I get to do so by evaluating Wayne's speech. Wayne and I joined this club right around the same time, and his ability to speak has skyrocketed, all right? He was supposed to speak as a part of the competition today to give a funny speech, and a bunch of people dropped out, including myself. So he had the opportunity to give that speech or to come up and just do a new one. And he just decided he was just going to go with it and do a brand new speech that he didn't prepare for. That is absolutely amazing, Wayne. You started off with such a slow, methodical tone that just sucked us in, right? That calmness that you had was very soothing. And that helps you enunciate so much better. You could hear every word so clearly. And then when you were talking about the woman walking like this with purse hanging from her elbow, I pictured that woman. I could see that woman walking because you did such a good job at sucking us in and explaining it, right? Every now and then, you have to give credit what credit is due. I do not have a single bad thing to say about your speech or something that you can improve on. That's because you did such a fantastic job, but also because we got to cut you some slack that you gave a speech that you necessarily didn't have planned for today. And that's fantastic. And so I will continue to just give you more praise because you deserve it. You did such a good job at your expressions. You would get close to the camera, you would signal, you would use your hands, your tone would change, right? And you came up with these voices for the people that you were trying to emulate, or these voices for how you reacted to something, right? And it brought us into that story. It made us feel like we were there because you changed your voice. It's kind of like when people say something here and then they go and do this when they're speaking as the other person. You did such a fantastic job, Wayne. I am so proud of you, so impressed, and so grateful that I got to evaluate you because you rocked it. So thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Ray. That was fantastic. Thank you to the both of our evaluators. Now moving forward, we would like to call for some functionary reports, starting with Dr. Ken and the grammarians report. Please take it away.
All right. Thank you, Miss General Evaluator. So our four table topics people each used the word of the day, catch 22. So that was very wonderful. I'm very proud of that. And in addition to that, Ray, our evaluator number 2, used it. Eric, the first evaluator, also used the word of the day. And that looks like about, let's see, those are the folks I got that used the word of the day. In terms of interesting phrases, Landon used some very self-effacing phraseology, quote, my nonsense blabbering. So that was kind of cute. Ray, who just gave a talk, used the phrase, give credit where credit is due. That's a nice one. And then ended up with, you rocked it. Ray said a number of interesting things, but those are the two main that I caught. Eric kept up with the rabbit theme, talking about pulling a meeting out of our hat. So that is Wayne's rabbit theme. And Eric also talked about the piece of paper that was, quote, not terrifying, not scary. So that was kind of an interesting phraseology. Wayne described himself as a workhorse real estate agent. So workhorse is another interesting phrase. And then said at the end, I'm deuces. That's a phrase I've rarely ever heard. So that's interesting. I'm deuces means like goodbye or I'm out of here. For those of you that don't know that. And then let's see, Cindy talked about kind of the dangers in the COVID universe, talking about having our feet dangled. Nathan made an interesting phraseology, mixing metaphors, talking about vocal variations and facial intonations. So with that, thank you. Turning back to you, Ms. Miss General Evaluator.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ken. That was fantastic. Next up, we have the awe counter, which is Miss Abby Sensek tonight. Please go ahead.
Yes. Okay. And this is what I caught. You did great. You had one off, or one and, sorry. Wayne, you had one but. Michelle, fantastic. Teresa, you had one and one so. Eric, you had one you had two so's, and you had three buts and one and. Ray, you had two so's and three buts and one and. And Ken, you had three Sons, you had two R's and two so's. Cindy, you had one three so's, and one you know. Nathan, you had one and one I. And Audrey, you had two and one so. Okay, Toastmaster.
All righty. Thank you so much, Abby. So next up is me for the general evaluation. So overall, I have to say every single time I'm doing this, actually, to begin, for guests, the general evaluator portion is basically our way of being introspective and making sure that we grow with each new meeting. So I have to say, ever since we put in this more detailed agenda, which I greatly appreciate, we also match almost down to the minute. I don't know how we do it, just collectively we're really good on time, but yeah, we're still very much on time, so I really appreciate that. And also really appreciate that everything is listed out accordingly. And so even for our guests, I'm sure they would know exactly what's happening and what's coming up next. As far as today goes, the only thing that I have to say to begin with is just, our general overall introductions should come first, but we already caught that on the moment. So thank you, Landon. As far as I really appreciate the educational presentation that we were able to mix in and not really even shift our schedule all that much. That was educational, not even just within Toastmasters verse, but even just in a business and work leadership viewpoint, getting the buy-in from the stakeholders and really showing them that what we're doing here benefits us in a career sense. That's fantastic. So I really appreciate that we're doing that, and I look forward to our upcoming educational series as well. The perk word for me today was actually spaghettify. Spaghettify. So thank you, Michelle, and also welcome back. And yeah, just overall, I really appreciate that everyone has been so orderly and giving such a great demonstration to ourselves as well as our guests. So going to go ahead and turn this back to Mr. Toastmaster.
What it is, what it be, what it do though. If I may please get a timers report on our evaluators. Nina's having a moment, don't worry. There we go.
Okay, I'm sorry, guys. So everybody qualified. Cindy, you've hit 2 on the dot. Everybody else made their time. Except maybe Dr. Ken. I don't know because I forgot to time you. I'm sorry.
Don't worry, we'll include you in that, Dr. Ken. All right, so all our evaluators qualify. That is evaluator 1 and 2, as well as general evaluator, grammarian, and all counter. In a moment, you will see the poll pop up on your screen so we can vote for who we believe the best evaluator was. And technically, the schedule says that the agenda says I would return it back to the presiding officer, which, spoiler alert, that's me. And I have a president's minute where I go over even more announcements, but I don't have any really, other than you guys are phenomenal. You look gorgeous. Thank you for showing up. And if I can if we may rather, before the end of the meeting, may we take a photo for maybe PR purposes or just for funsies, have it for record. If anyone opposes, please let us know. We don't want to take any photos of anyone who doesn't want to be in the photo. And then I'm going to give it really quickly to, assuming that the votes are all in, to our vote counter so that she may present the winners for the evening.
Okay, thank you so much. Give me just one moment. Share computer sound, see if I can get it to work. Okay, and today, your very first prize for best evaluator goes to Eric. Yay! And the next item is table topics, and that was Sanaz. Well done, Sanaz. That was very, very good, especially like on the spot like that. You did fantastic. And last but not least, our best speaker was Wayne Miller. Good job, Wayne. That was amazing. Loved the hand gestures that you used. And I will set it right back to our President Landon, and I'll stop sharing in just a second.
All right, so per the schedule, we still have 5 minutes. And in that time, I want to get some guest feedback. So we're going to start with Sanaz. What did you think about the meeting?
I love that it's so on a schedule, and I'm following it from the agenda, and I like that. I like being on a schedule, and also I feel like there are good feedback. People are getting good feedback, and it is possible to improve. I don't know if I can, if I'm able to express myself, but there are in some situations I have seen that you just don't learn anything. But I feel like there's a learning here, and it's possible to improve. So I'm loving it. I'm loving being here, and also like the timing of the meeting.
Awesome. Well, again, we are glad and honored that you decided to visit us. I know our VPM Twee will probably be reaching out to you shortly just to get a little more one-on-one time with you, find out your goals, kind of thing. Audrey, what did you think about tonight's meeting? She maybe have stepped away from the phone for a bit. So we're going to transition to Nathan. What did you think about the meeting? I know that you're an honorary member basically, but.
I think there she is. Oh, sorry.
So one, I appreciate, yeah, again, how on time the meetings are. I appreciate like how the roles are actually written out on the names. So now it's pretty cool because now you know who to pay attention to for during certain parts of the meeting. Yeah, it's been a good smooth sailing. It's been pretty consistent time wise and just kind of everything like what to expect is pretty consistent. That I appreciate.
Awesome. Thank you for that. One of these days, we're going to actually officially get you on paper. And now maybe Audrey, if she's back from the stepping away from the phone.
I had unmuted myself, but for some reason it didn't take. I was talking. Anywho, I just, remember how well it went so many different times, and when I would just be an observer and not a participator. But like I said, I just enjoyed every minute of it, and so and I should get more specific, I suppose, but I'm just smiling over here, even though I can't be seen. But I just really appreciate it, listening to you guys take charge, and it just, yeah, it's great. So I will be joining you next week for sure. Hopefully I'll be on the actual Zoom, for that matter, rather than just the audio.
No worries. Even if you are just audio, as long as you're still here, that's all that matters. All right.
Thank you.
And it looks like we have a minute or less, so I will officially adjourn the meeting. If we can, maybe take a quick photo unless anyone opposes. And because we do have a phone number that is showing, if we can either hide that or blur it out so that we're not releasing PII online kind of thing.
I can blur it out later.
When you are ready, let us know.
Okay. 3, 2.
Who
I'm gonna take it. Yeah. Ready? 3, 2, 1. All right. Got it. Thank you, everyone.
All right. So guests,
I'm
you're
such a
more than
dummy.
welcome to stay and socialize. I do want to give it really quickly to Eric. Even though we're officially adjourned, I want to pass it to Eric so that we can get roles set up for next week. Guests, you're more, like I said, you're more than welcome to stay socialized. If you got to tap out, you can tap out kind of thing. Eric, let's get some roles assigned.
Yes, if everyone wants to go ahead and unmute so that I can buy a few seconds and make it seem like that's really important while I open the other tab. For the 20th, I have almost everything open. I do have Teresa in as speaker 2 already. Everything else is open.
Can I be an evaluator?
Yes, you can. You will be evaluating Teresa. Thank you.
Can I be an
That was
evaluator?
Nina, right?
Yeah, that was Nina. Thanks.
Okay. All right, I heard another voice.
Can I be an
Nathaniel also wanted to be an evaluator? Okay, well, I don't have another speaker yet, but you'll evaluate whoever is ready to speak, and that is going to be, because all of you are ready.
I'll do it.
Just kidding, Michelle.
Oh, 2 hands. All right. No, you're both doing it. So that'll be Michelle, and then Landon. Awesome. And if I can get titles and speech timing and all that kind of stuff right away, that'd be good. And then all of the functionary roles as well.
I'll be timer.
Abby for the timer.
How about a counter? Oh.
I hear Dr. Ken is a counter.
Yeah.
Can I do table topics? Oh.
Yeah, who was that for table topics?
Cindy.
Fighting for table topics. Fighting.
Cindy for table topics. And that would be a terrifying steel cage match.
Tweet for vote counter. I'm sorry.
I got money on Twee.
Twee wants to be a vote counter.
Yes, sir.
All right. I still need a grammarian, a general evaluator, and a Toastmaster.
I'll be grammarian.
Wayne would like to be the grammarian, and as soon as I can get your word, I will get that posted for everybody.
Ooh,
Oh, you waiting for
Toastmaster.
me? Oh.
What was it? Who just said Toastmaster?
No, I was just talking to myself. We need a Toastmasters, y'all.
Oh, because I was totally thinking you were volunteering. Would you like me to bump you up the list?
I've been waiting for a table topics spot.
Okay, it's yours. Nina, your box just highlighted like you're talking. Did you want to be the Toastmaster?
I already have a role.
Okay. Well, in the interest of making this happen, I think that I will be the Toastmaster, just to fill that in. And we'll get a theme posted, and I'll be the general evaluator if we don't have one as well. And with that said, with all of the microphones unmuted, if you want to stop the recording, and then we just